Nigeria?
Well, there are specific aspects of the bill which will tackle some issues with essentially the issue of corruption is going to be tackled within the PIGB by increasing the amount of transparency around bidding rounds, around appointment of officers into various agencies in the oil and gas industry, around how petroleum agreements, information on petroleum agreements. I think one of the key issues, for instance, which is still a bit up in the air, is the fact that we expect to see more information around if there's a petroleum agreement between the government and a company, for instance, we need to have public access to those agreements so that we can see what sort of terms are agreed on, and then the company can be held to accountable to those terms. Even the NNPC can be held accountable to those terms. But not much of that transparency has been included at this time. So I think to some extent it's a bit weak on that front in tackling those kind of issues. But I think in subsequent drafts, perhaps maybe we may see those kind of issues addressed.
In actual fact, among these various broken down of the PIB, as the Dr. Bekachiko, the Deputy Oil Minister, puts it, which of them do you think is the most contentious? Perhaps the industry operators and some stakeholders are scared of letting see the light of the day.
I think it's the fiscal bill, because don't forget what the fiscal bill does really is to spell out the fiscal terms for gas, for deep water, and those two areas have been really contentious. I mean, aside the other political issues around, we need to include the host community fund, the other issues around powers of the president and the minister,
I guess we had a bit of a hiccup there with the internet connections via Skype. Dolapo is the head of energy research at EcoBank and is sitting now in Victoria Island in Lagos, taking us through the petroleum industry bill. That's the Deputy Minister for Petroleum Resources, Dr. Bekachiko, says has been broken down into four parts, not pieces, but parts, as it were. And if you hear the fiscal side and the rest of this, then what's the most difficult part of it is the fiscal side trying to get these documents passed in various forms and then being reassembled together at some point to help Nigeria achieve two basic things. One, reduce corruption in the oil and gas sector. That is very, very crucial. And second, to get investments, more money into the oil and gas space, where Nigeria has had a deficit in recent years. What our cash call arrears was, as at last year, was close to $6 billion US. So we need those monies from international investors and local investors as well in the upstream sector, segment of the oil sector. That is very, very crucial. But again, everyone is looking at the PIB. That's been on the table for a couple of years, and that document has not yet been passed. So the questions are being asked, where is it right now, and what will the National Assembly, both the upper and the lower legislative house, do? Will they be able to handle this document as soon as they can, perhaps as soon as the budget 2017 has been finalized and put in place? That will be between now and the end of the month. Perhaps from the second half of 2017, we'll see some actions taken on the petroleum industry bill. Now let's return to this, and we can re-emphasize or repeat it as many times as possible. The International Monetary Fund will release its Article 4 consultation report and the staff report and the assessment of the agency on Nigeria's economy and the financial markets later today. The full document will be released at 2:30 local time in Washington. That is one big story for today. Dolapo Oni is back with us on Skype. Dolapo, thank you for coming back to us. Okay, I'm sure we lost the audio part of that. The visual looks a bit good, but the audio is a little bit patchy. So the IMF will be talking to us today. That report highlighted the new economic recovery and growth plan of the Buhari's administration, which the IMF initial press statement says it was welcomed by the executive board of the IMF, as well as the foreign exchange easing restrictions by the Central Bank of Nigeria rapidly since the month of February. But there was a long list of to-do for the Nigerian government on the fiscal side and on the monetary side, and how the two should come together to ensure that the ERGP actually succeed. Those details of what should be done by the IMF in terms of their report on Nigeria is what today's release of the staff report in full details would mean. So we're tracking that for you from 2:30 local time. Meantime, the President, Buhari himself, will formally unveil the ERGP document, but there's still a lot to be done. The document was published last month by the Udoma's National Planning and Budget Ministry without further details. So we're looking at whether the President and this Udoma's ministry will today provide further details and clarity on the implementation of the ERGP. Importantly, where is the team that will drive this ERGP forward? And that is the key of what everyone will be looking at forward to today. Will President Buhari constitute the board, or the team that will, what was called the special unit that would implement this broad document over the next 4 years, 2017-2020. That is one big story that we're following through today. And don't forget that we're also tracking the markets for you. The Central Bank of Nigeria yesterday issued treasury bills, 50 billion naira of two tenors. None were subscribed because everyone's waiting for the regulator to lift that, what we call a freeze on a two-way quote for treasury bills. Today, we're expecting more than 240 billion naira, thereabout, to be issued in treasury bills, papers of various tenors by the financial regulator. It's going to be the morning after the 4th of April that the central bank set for two-way quote for treasury bills by dealers. That's one big story from the market on this side, on the ministry side for you. Let's come back after the break and we get more insight into the economic report.